they sound like they're in your backyard.
I told them, I heard like, was like,
We're live.
they can send, like, they.
We're live. Antonio, we're live.
So should I have to read this?
No, you don't.
Okay.
But we can't.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Hello?
Good evening, Bill. I guess our mayor will be here for the next meeting, but she's not here right now, so, and Mary, our mayor pro tem, is absent. And so I am going to conduct the first meeting, hopefully online.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Josh,
Yes.
do I wait till right till 6?
Right, till 6 o'clock, yes.
I hate reading between, we always have that. You should never cook dinner before you come home. I know if our mayor was here, she would say, good evening, staff, good evening, council, good evening, Bill, good evening.
Good evening.
Started that way. Hopefully I can follow in some good steps. And then this go out. Okay, I think I'm fudging 30 seconds or so, but we're gonna start this meeting of the study session agenda at 6 p.m. So I'll call it to order. Do I? So we have no old business? Nope, no. New business, a discussion of the cemetery ordinance, the fence. I read this, so I know it's the fence that goes around the plots. And it's on page 10 through 16, if any of you have a question or, and I did have quite a few different things highlighted, but,
Is your mic on? Is it on?
yeah, it's
Okay,
on.
good, here, closer.
I'm sorry. I thought I talked pretty loud, so I didn't want to put it too close. Do any of the rest of you have any? I just have, well, a couple of things I think I highlighted, and I know one of them was just a type error. It's got an 8 instead of a P, I think, perpetual on page 12, which is no big deal, but I decided I should bring it up. Which one? It's on page 12. It's just a typing error.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not any. The only thing about removal of ornaments and the flower arrangements, I agree with, because it does get pretty messy out there when people don't pick up their stuff after a certain time. The only thing I would like to suggest is that if they do pick up something that's really sentimental, because some of us have pictures, some of us have, if we could just keep those, if the guys, Public Works could just keep those, maybe be notified and we could pick them up.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there's any of that kind of stuff out there right now. I haven't been out there in a while, but the other thing is when sometimes the stones get hit by the lawnmowers. Now, that's not going to be the people's responsibility, right? Wouldn't that come back to the city because it was done by an employee? Because it has happened in the past.
Right, but how will we be able to prove that?
Well, usually when they hit them, I can tell you pretty much it's on the corner, if I'm right,
Yeah.
Tootie.
Yeah,
It's on the corner
yeah, you
of
can
the,
see it on
yeah.
the corners on the side,
And you can tell the damage was done by something hitting
by
it.
a mower would.
I know if it's up above or something like that, it's probably not, but I have been through a couple of them that have been damaged by public works. So we might, I don't know if we have to,
So the reason we brought this is because someone did complain that certain plots have a fence.
yeah. And I agree with that, I agree with partial of it, I should say. And I don't know, does anybody else have something to say? Because I don't want to be the little piggy here.
Oh, I just have to say that, I know I have, can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay, there has been quite a few beer cans out there, and I know they go out and drink, because I've been out there and people are drinking. You need to remind, they need to take their cans or bottles with them, and not just throw them there on the side. I mean,
My son's friends have been out there and done the same, Diana, so I understand. I don't know if they're leaving the bottle and can as a tribute to our little boys. but-
well, no, but I mean, sometimes they leave them there at the headstone, whatever, that's
Oh,
fine.
yeah.
But when they just throw them out
Oh,
on the
okay, I
bushes
see.
there, on the shrubs, you know, that's gonna stop. I mean, I.
Right, but how are we gonna implement that?
Yeah.
Council, like,
Maybe with the sign, we have a sign up, don't we, that says on the cemetery itself of something about the removal. Do we have that there still?
yes, we do.
Maybe we could add something like,
Add something on there.
Or put it on
your
your
garbage.
Facebook.
Pick up your
You
garbage.
can drink or take your cans or your bottles with you.
don't leave your left, your garbage. Okay.
Yeah, be more respectful for the cemetery.
So on page 15, if you guys look at 244160A,
Okay, I just have a question for you on that. Have all the wooden crosses been taken out already?
what was the question?
The wooden crosses, have they been taken out? Are those gonna be taken out?
Well, that's why we brought this, to say, okay, we gotta follow the rules or we don't. No.
Because those wooden ones, they go out on weekends and put those up.
They don't leave them up all week, Judy?
No, they put them in cement. People go out and put crosses.
Oh, they do it on their own, I see what you're
Yes,
saying.
they don't pay a fee or anything.
Like for a headstone?
Yes,
Exactly, yeah.
they go out on weekends and do it.
And we could approach those people.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah, because we should.
because if they did, I don't see nothing wrong with it. If they paid the fee.
Right. as a
But if they
headstone.
didn't, there should be a record of it if they did.
Right. Correct, and we do have,
Yes, and
Yeah.
if they didn't, just tell them, hey, give them maybe a week, 2 weeks. Either pay the fee or take it out, or it will be taken out.
I think it all depends too, where
And
it's
then-
located, because if it's located far back away from our
No,
plots,
that's-
then it's hard.
That's not the idea of it.
No, I know,
the
that
thing
part you're
is-
saying is true too, but I'm just saying, in it, from now on, we've got to make sure they're located closer to their plot on their property, because
No. That's totally different deal. They're going out there setting them
yeah.
without,
But if they reset it, like say you want them to take it out, I'm just saying if they reset it and are allowed to, we need to make sure they bring it in closer to their plot. That's all I'm saying.
you get two things mixed up here, Rita.
I'm talking about the crosses.
Right,
So
but
how
they're
am
not paying for the setting
Yeah, I
fee.
understand that. I agree with you. But I'm saying if they have to pull it out and they pay the setting fee and want to put it back, we
Okay,
have to.
that's totally
we have
different
to
now,
make-
yeah.
okay.
I understand that now, yes. But they go out there on weekends and put them,
and
I
that's what,
understand what
and we're
you're
gonna
saying.
address that.
yes.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so what are you talking about, the same fee as for everybody else on a headstone when they do that, or are they gonna get
I
a
think
cheaper
it-
fee?
No, I think it reads in here, if we do that, we have to pay it. I read something
And there's
about
a
that.
height also, correct, Josh? Isn't there a height?
I don't think there's a height limitation.
Yes, there is.
There is?
Uh-huh.
I read something
Height
about
limit.
that in here,
Or
Diane,
did-
that a fee would be charged like a setting fee.
For what?
Anything that they put on permanently like that. It would cost them a regular setting fee.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, you answered my question.
Yeah, because a lot of people, go out there on weekends and set the crosses and headstones without letting the city know.
So we can ask the attorney regarding that page what was it, page 15,
Mhm.
2.44.160, letter A. Does that pertain to the fence, Bill?
It says on lots, grave sites. The beginning of it says following regulations shall apply for placement on lots / grave sites. So I guess I don't know what you mean by, does that pertain to this fence? I'm not very familiar with the,
Does the fence fall into the same as A, am I correct?
oh, does these same regulations apply to the fence?
Yes.
I would assume the lots must touch, the fence must, the lots must go immediately up to the fence and so forth, I would assume. So I would say reasonably it does. If you're considering amending this at all, you should probably add that there in the preamble to say grave sites and fences. It doesn't make sense that people could put those things on the fence if they can't put them anywhere else. So I guess, does a lot go right up to the fence, or are there parts of the cemetery that are that will never be used or something in common areas, so to speak?
Yeah, I think her question is, would our fence line apply as A does it with everything else that's listed? Would the fence be in that same?
Well, I would say somebody could argue that it's not, because it says lots, grave sites. So someone could argue that it does not apply to the fences, but on the other hand, let me see, look through anywhere else on here.
It does say something, where else I saw it too. And I think we better take into consideration what our measurements are. I don't see the size of our plot. I didn't see it anyway,
I mean,
because
the city can control its own property. So even though there's not an ordinance saying you can't put stuff on the fence, there's nothing saying you can either. So the city would have the right to remove things that are just left on city property without any authority to do so.
excuse me for interrupting, Bill, but I think we need to figure out what the size of the plot is and whose ownership it is, because I own my son's plot. I have measured it. I have been down the road on this right here. And we have to make sure that if we're going to do something as a city, we better make sure it's our property, not the owner's property. Because I measured mine. I was really upset when something happened to my son's plot. And they actually removed stuff off what I owned and purchased, not what the city owned.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to make sure that our measurements and everything is, and I think the fence is, again, what we're trying to get across. The fence can be allowed around the plot itself, if I'm right, if it's in their property, or a partial fence. But I think their problem is that people are putting it all the way around where they're buried. So it's a bigger fence. It's a, what size is that,
You're
Judy?
doing like 6 feet by
6 feet,
Yes.
6 feet long, maybe.
Yeah, they make it 6 feet long, as
2.5
long
feet
as
wide.
the burial plot is.
big.
And that's creating trouble for the public works to mow.
Oh, okay. I now I understand more what you're talking about. I thought you meant a fence that went around the cemetery. Your fence around the plots.
That's what I thought.
And let me look at this packet again here.
I think they were 4 by 8,
Yeah, we
4
made,
inch, 4 feet wide and 8 feet
Sylvia, if
long.
I remember right, we did all that measurement. Remember when you helped me?
Right, and
we
I
did-
don't recall, so I was gonna ask Josh.
Okay,
Josh, do you recall?
because we didn't do it once. But it's been a while. Judy, I think
I
you
don't
gave me.
recall the details, huh? Honestly.
So what the issue is people are complaining about having their headstone and putting the fence around the
Around the
headstone.
plot.
Right.
And some people having their fence removed and other people still having their
Okay,
fence.
so we need to
So
make sure we do it the
We
same.
need to clarify because on
Okay,
this
but I have a question about that too. I think like mine, and I'm gonna bring up mine because it's been a sore spot for quite a while now. It works. I have a fence around my son's, a partial fence. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that for anybody or everybody, as long as they keep it within their ownership of that plot. So if you put a fence right up against your plot, then it's ours. It's not the city's. So we're gonna have to look at that, because if you guys go out there and tell me I'm taking some more out of my son's, I might just take his body out and put it somewhere else. No, I wouldn't, but I'm just saying, I've been hammered. And he's been out there 20 years in November. And to me, that was,
Yeah,
it was pretty hard, guys.
I know.
So we need to get the measurements for the plot itself that belongs to the people, Bill, I think. I think the girls are looking at that.
Uh-huh.
So that I don't want to infringe on some personal property. Because we pay for our plots, we pay for our property there where our loved ones are buried, up to a certain degree.
Well, was Sylvia's question, does 244-160A, does it forbid fences altogether? Is that your question?
Right, that's,
My answer would be, it doesn't, it says similar objects. I would say it doesn't really forbid fences because they're not similar enough to boxes, shelves, pinwheels, chairs, settings, glass objects of any kind, wood ornaments. It's not really an ornament. It's got a utility to it. So I would say nothing here specifically forbids fencing. It would probably be nice if it said fences are allowed or they're not allowed. So, to make it clear, but the fact that the ordinance won't necessarily list every conceivable thing that somebody might put on their lot, and it seems like A is more things that are just left there and something you're going to sit down on, or just ornaments of certain types, and a fence is not just an ornament and you're not going to sit on it or something. So I would say it's not clearly forbidden by Part A of 160.
Another question that would bring up is, a lot of us have angels, like Catholics. We have angels, so, and they're on his actual plot. So can those remain there? We gotta make ourselves, pretty clear on this. Sorry, but that's how I feel.
What are they made out of? Ceramic or?
Yeah, yes, sir. Ceramic. I'm not trying to be fussy, I just want to clarify. Because
I'm looking at D here. There may be placed no more than 2 flags, 2 balloons, 1 stuffed animal or doll adjacent. If dolls are allowed without time limits, apparently under D, don't know why an angel could be forbidden. It doesn't seem to forbid all ornaments. It's only saying, and under A, they don't want wood ornaments.
Bill, what about the letter F?
That says unused grave site or lot. So it's limited to that, unused.
yeah, that's one that nobody's buried in, why would you have flowers? And then G goes back and kind of helps out a little bit, because it actually says on, like during Memorial Day weekend and Mother's Day and stuff, because we do get more at that time on our grave sites. Our birthdays, their birthday, their anniversary, whatever. There's certain times that other stuff's placed that isn't placed year round, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Is that right, Diana? I'm coming from somebody that has people there. Diana has people there. Tootie has people there. Our audience has people there. I don't know, Tony, if he does, but we're looking at it from two sides, and I apologize for that. I can't just be, I have to say what I feel, I guess, as a citizen, kind of.
Okay. So I have a question. So how many feet are we allowed from the headstone this way instead of people putting it all the way, 60? Right, what is it, 60?
It's usually 6 foot, 4 by,
4
It's
by
4 by 8?
4 by 8, it's 8, about 8.
And I've seen quite a few that they use the whole 8 feet. I mean, we can't do that. It just makes it really hard
That's-
for the public.
That's where our problem comes
To
in at.
mow or do
To mow
maintenance?
and do the maintenance, so stop that.
But I think if they put it on their own property just around the plot, I think we need to look at that. I really do.
We don't have to make a decision today. do we?
No, we need to, everybody needs to take this and really read it.
Yeah,
'cause
look
I
into
know-
it, get proper measurements and everything. And
Correct.
Have you had a chance to really look at this, Bill? The ordinance?
no, I haven't looked at it in any detail. I just, were there any specific new proposals in the packet, or you just got the old existing ordinance here?
It's the existing
Right,
one.
correct.
Somebody said it's the old one, the existing one.
I've looked at it quite a bit while we've been talking here. I guess who mows the grass inside the fence then if somebody puts a fence there?
Actually, to be honest with you, they don't put the grass back, so there is no grass. That's another one.
But once it grows back after
Right,
a
once it
while.
grows.
Yeah, but it takes a long time, and that's something I brought up so many times. I wish we'd get a shaver that goes under the grass, they roll it up, when they're done, they unroll it. I've asked this for probably 20 years for the Public Works to have one of those. That would make our cemetery much neater and nicer looking, and then maybe they wouldn't want to fence it. I don't know. I'm just saying, I have.
We used to cut it and roll it up and put it back, but
That's what we should do. I really believe we
they
should do
stopped
that.
doing it because it would
Yes.
take them too long.
It might take too long, but what do we offer? I mean, we pay quite a bit for,
So can I got, no, oh, okay.
not yet. And
At
you
7 o'clock.
can, though,
Oh.
remember what you want to ask, if you can, please. So let's table this, take it home, or I don't know what we're supposed to do with it.
We're just gonna discuss.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's everybody read it more thoroughly, and
We'll
then
just bring-
I highlighted one. If you want to ask a question about something or suggest something, why don't we highlight them and then bring them back next
Correct.
time, and
Okay, we'll do
we'll
that.
have a discussion again? Does that sound okay,
Yeah.
Bill?
Yeah, I do see one thing of interest here, 244, 150, removal of ornaments, floral arrangements that says the city every second and fourth Tuesday can remove all flowers, balloons, flags, or other objects. So that's pretty vague because any other object kind of conflicts with 160, makes it sound like some things can be there permanently. Because there's a time limit on some things under 160, but not others. But then you have 150 saying the city can remove objects every second and fourth Tuesday. So there's some ambiguities between those two. It should be clarified, what can you leave there more or less permanently?
Like the angels or something that we have right on our stone, right on their stone.
Right. So whatever the rule, it should be clearer to the public or the lot owners, what the rule is or is not, if they can expect something to be gone in the second or fourth Tuesday. I mean, if fences are allowed, then arguably the fence could be removed or something because it says or other object.
Clarify it, definitely. I believe anyway. What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. we'd just like to have some time maybe to go over it and we'll highlight, as council, we'll highlight our questions or suggestions and come back in a couple of weeks, Bill. Hopefully
Sure.
we-
Yeah, that sounds good.
Hopefully you can clarify it at that time
Yeah, sure.
you're talking about. Because I know I had a few questions about that too. I appreciate you talking about that. Thank you. Okay, is there anything else on this then? Okay, what are we moving on to? So that was the new business. Got the wrong one. That was A, right? Okay, so B, discussion of resolution 2022-19, a resolution adopting the 6-year transportation. And that's on page 18 through 33. And we do this every 6 years.
Correct.
And it's more or less, we try to pick out
We do it every
the
year.
worst roads. And give them a list of 6 top, like your 6 top ones that you'd like to see improved. Or 6, yeah. Am I correct, Sylvia?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you have any of those on the list that would have?
It is on your page.
It's on that
On
page.
the number 18?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the second, it's Main Street reconstruction, Washington Avenue. Yeah. And this is something we do regularly every 6 years. In case grants and stuff come out, we can get some help with road money. I forget what it's called, girls.
What's that?
What's the road that we get,
TBG.
TBG? Sometimes we get grants from them for some of this. We're lucky. This is something we do every 6 years, Bill.
Uh-huh.
It's just, yeah, they're just picking out the 6 main bad
So-
streets.
So this is something we do every year, to extend out for 6 years. So it looks like Mike would really like to talk to us if we want to listen to him.
Yeah, so this is Mike Muskimin with Gray and Osborne. Yeah, I was just gonna clarify that, yeah, you do it every year. It does encompass a 6-year planning window. Certain funding programs, the Transportation Improvement Board is one of them, requires that your projects have to be on this list. And also your FHWA funded projects, which are federal highways projects, which includes your Main Street reconstruction project, require that the projects have to be listed on your 6-year plan in order to move forward with them. So that's a little bit of the reason why you have to adopt or should adopt this, is to move forward with those projects. The remaining projects are, as you mentioned, are like a wish list, basically, of other projects around the town that that you see as priorities for the town to go after funding for, either through those sources or other sources. So.
Thank you for that. You guys have any questions about that, how it works?
Okay, I only have one question here, like on the Fern Street overlay, isn't when the new housing project come in, are they supposed to do the roads too? Or can we,
I thought that we had discussed it, that they were supposed to do that.
yeah, yeah, but it's on here that
Huh.
you
Did
do.
he lose our sound, Sylvia?
No, Josh,
Oh.
Josh,
Yeah, I think
Yeah, is that
something
on?
happened, I think.
So
Oh,
is that project, I'm not entirely certain where the new development is coming in, but that says that it's from 6th Street to Allison Road. Is that coincident with the limits of the development?
Yeah, it's on Fern Street overlay, Fern Street, 6th Street, Allison, yes.
So they'll be responsible for the Allison and 6th, their south, the,
That's the way I understood it.
That's how I understood it when they were there.
That they would,
Responsible
those.
for putting
do the road. That way we could take it out of our,
Take it
Fine.
off.
I don't know. I just,
So there is no, actually, I think in looking at the map, it looks like if the development did come in, it would be on the north side of Fern Street. Is that correct?
yes.
So
No,
they,
south side of Fern.
south side, okay.
It'll be south of the project.
And that's what, Pine Street
No, it'll be a Fern to Allison.
and Allison?
Yeah.
Allison, okay. Would that development encompass that entire block?
Yes,
Okay, so they may be responsible for reconstructing a portion or all of the road, depending on what kind of impact they have there. They could only be responsible for half of the roadway improvements, or possibly the whole thing. I'm not certain where you are in the development review process. It doesn't hurt to list the project on your 6-year TIP in case there is a funding opportunity that comes up. For instance, if that was eligible for economic development dollars and Yakima County seed funds could be used, they would likely want to see it on the list. And potentially you could help the developer out by obtaining some additional grant funds, but you're not under any obligation to actually construct that project if that is the developer's responsibility. So by having it on your 6-year TIP, you're not saying that you are going to construct it for them. You're just giving yourself an opportunity to obtain some additional funding in the event that the development doesn't go through, or there are opportunities where you can partner with the developer to get some additional outside funds to help get the road constructed.
yeah, just in case then.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Okay, that was my question.
So Mike, the mayor wants to know, what about Maple Street?
Oh, because it's never been.
All right, just a second here. Let me get the list back up here. I switched between screens on my side for a second. And do we have Maple Street currently on here? I was just looking, I remember talking about it. I just don't recall if it's actually on the list.
Not on the list.
Have we talked about it?
Yes, we very hard, like I heard last.
It's priority 3, Mike.
It's on, yeah, page 4 on the one that I have. I'm not sure which one you guys.
Oh, yes, it is.
Pine Street to Maple.
Yeah, Maple and.
Okay, thank you. It is.
Okay. Good, 'cause that's when that has never been done.
Mhm.
I think. So, is there any more questions or any more discussions? Judy, did that answer your
No, he answered.
question? Bill, we're okay?
When do you find out each year when funds are available or not? When does that process as far as federal funds? When do you find out as far as planning for this?
So the federal funds are generally made available through an application process with YVCOG. So that'd be the FHWA funds that come down as either transportation alternatives or surface transportation block grant funds. They have not had a call for projects since 2013, when the city originally applied for the Main Street project, but they are anticipating sometime in the next year or two that they would be ready to have another call for projects. So it's a long sort of convoluted process as to how you get those funds, but the city is definitely in line for your priority 1 project, which is the Main Street reconstruction project for almost $2 million. That money is programmed for the city and can be obligated as soon as we can get BNSF to give us some approvals and WashDOT to give us some approvals on that. So the intent is to construct that project next year and use those funds next year for the construction. So it's kind of a 2-part process, I guess. old funds have already been allocated to the city. We just need to get them spent. New funds going forward, they should have another call for projects in the next 1 to 2 years. Other programs that are affected by this, like the Transportation Improvement Board, they have a call for projects every year. They generally announce, and those were just due last Friday for this year. The city did put in an application for chip sealing and crack sealing funds. Those are considered maintenance efforts. Those are actually not required to be listed in this plan. So that is outside of the requirements of this plan. The city would find out about if they're successful with that the first week in December this year, I think. There are a host of other programs too, and they just kind of come throughout the year, and you find out about, Safe Routes to Schools, for instance, ped bike program. Those applications occur at different times, and there are a bunch of different deadlines and times that you find out about that funding. So I guess I should add one more thing to this. This is a living document. You can amend this document at any time that you want to do that. So just be aware that you can change it if you do have other priorities that pop up.
One question for you, Mike. For paint the lines on the sidewalks, the city is responsible to do that, or there is a funding program for that? And now the stop signs, like right now, the people, they go back to school, and there is a lot of streets that will have no white lines or strip lines in the middle of the road that crossing the stop signs.
So are you referring to North Street where you have the painted walkways on that? Is that? Yes,
even in Main Street and close to the school or whatever, the buses stop in the south side of the park. They're supposed to have like a strip lines for the kids that pass through so that people can respect those passing lines.
Yes, there are occasionally some limited opportunities to get funding for that, but generally it is considered more of a maintenance activity. And the city is generally responsible for that. But every now and then there are some programs and where we can work that in under a safety improvement. We can sometimes take advantage of a few of those programs. So we can look into that a little bit more.
Maybe that Safe Routes to Schools.
And just for the record, Public Works guys have been doing that this week.
Yes, I saw they doing something in the
Yes.
middle school, elementary school.
And the high school.
Yes.
School starts. So. Okay. But legally, Bill, like, say, we don't have the roads and the crosswalks and all that marked like we should, and something should happen to a child or a pedestrian, what would our responsibility be as a city?
Well, there's generally can be lawsuits for negligent design and so forth. If there was a certain DOT regulation, for example, that was not being followed, then that would clearly be evidence of negligence. But also people can always come up with a claim that it should have been designed differently, regardless of any specific legal requirement, if they find the right expert, I guess you could say. So yeah, always err on the side of safety, I would think, if it's the question putting in those markers and so forth or not. But
yeah, I can speak a little more to that as well. There are different requirements and design parameters for doing some of that, for painting things. For instance, and in general, you want to be a little bit careful on what you do paint out. There are, for instance, on sidewalks or pathways where you want pedestrians to walk, there's generally a requirement that you want to separate the pedestrians from the roadway with some physical distance, whether that is just pure distance or a vertical curb. That seems to have been an accepted norm, but just putting a paint line down sometimes can imply safety that is not there. And so you want to be careful with that. There are certainly some traffic engineers that will go the entire opposite direction of others and will state that you should paint every crosswalk. Most of the traffic engineers that I know generally say to go the other way. They usually almost advise you to not paint crosswalks because there again, people have a sense that the crosswalk implies safety that the paint just doesn't give you. It may increase the visibility, but it isn't going to stop a car from hitting you. So in fact, it may make people think that they should use the crosswalk in that location without checking for vehicles. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can attack a lot of those arguments. So
Okay.
Thank you.
So the obvious answer may not always be the one that makes sense.
Is anything else on this topic for anybody? Any other questions or suggestions, answers, whatever? Okay, so we are where?
See?
I think I was going back to 2 weeks ago, guys, sorry. Okay, so we go to C. Discussion of resolution 2022-20, a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an amended contract with Yakima Valley Conference of Government, and that's on page 34 through 36. So this has been amended? I take-
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they want us to amend it to additional $5,000, and that's on page 35. The information.
So what they're saying is that they've done more work than we paid for?
Right, because we've got all these new projects coming in.
Okay. Understand that?
So the other thing to clarify is that we set the budget for this year exactly the same as what it was last year. So we didn't actually give them any kind of increase or anything. So not knowing, exactly how much we were going to grow, and then we hit all of this growth, and that kind of ended up with a little bit more. So ideally, that obviously that extra work turns into extra revenue, but that's the hope anyway. So
So the suggestion, we'd have to give them more than, right?
5,000.
Based on it.
Yeah. Right.
It's $5,000 increase. To what we already paid, which is a total of, it's on here.
Which is a total of 12,000.
Correct.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or suggestions or anything? So is everybody okay with that? So we're gonna have to pay more to, Bill, so that's where we're at.
So are
okay?
those things done already? Or-
No, we're still working on it.
Okay.
Okay, so seeing no other questions from anybody? I guess. We don't have an executive session, right? We don't take any action on this to regular
No,
meeting.
until council.
Yeah,
So, I guess that's it. I will adjourn this meeting at 6:42. Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.